In the vast tapestry of military history, certain conflicts stand out not just for their scale but for the strategic brilliance that defines them. The Napoleonic Wars, a turbulent era that reshaped the map of Europe, witnessed a remarkable clash of minds between two titans, Napoleon Bonaparte and Mikhail Kutuzov. And so, as we explore the fascinating dynamics of Kutuzov versus Napoleon, the chess game of war, we invite you to witness history unfold, to understand not just the battles but the minds behind them. Get ready for a strategic journey, a chess match that transcends the boundaries of time. Before starting, remember to click the like and subscribe button to support us in making more interesting videos. The early moves. In the opening gambits of our historical chess game, we find ourselves in the early 19th century, a time of seismic shifts and strategic brilliance. Two towering figures emerge, Napoleon Bonaparte, the audacious French emperor, and Mikhail Kutuzov, the shrewd Russian general. Napoleon, a military virtuoso, maneuvers his pieces with breathtaking speed. His campaigns at Austerlitz, Jena, and Friedland showcase not only his tactical brilliance but an audacity that reshapes the very fabric of European geopolitics. The chessboard comes alive with the sweeping movements of the French Grande Army, and the world watches in awe as Napoleon orchestrates victories that seem almost preordained. On the opposite side of this historical chessboard stands Mikhail Kutuzov, a seasoned Russian general known for his measured and deliberate approach. As Napoleon dazzles with his early triumphs, Kutuzov, observing keenly, refrains from engaging prematurely. He understands the essence of the long game, realizing that in the fluid dynamics of war, patience can be a potent weapon. The early moves of our chess game showcase a stark contrast in strategy. Napoleon, the fiery tactician, seizes territories and wins battles with dazzling speed. Meanwhile, Kutuzov, the cautious strategist, observes, calculates, and positions his pieces with a focus on the broader campaign. The world watches as the chessboard evolves, with each move shaping the destiny of nations. The early encounters between these two military minds set the stage for a grander narrative, a tale of power, ambition, and the inexorable march of history. Little do they know that this chess game will soon escalate into a clash of titans, a struggle that will resonate through the ages as Kutuzov prepares to counter Napoleon's audacious opening moves. The turning point, the Russian campaign of 1812. As our historical chess game advances, it reaches a pivotal moment, the Russian campaign of 1812. Napoleon, at the zenith of his power, launches an audacious move, aiming to bring the Russian Empire under his dominion. However, little does he realize that this campaign will prove to be the turning point in our strategic narrative. Napoleon's Grande Army, a force that had swept through Europe with unparalleled speed, now faces a vast and unforgiving expanse. The Russian campaign, characterized by the scorched earth tactics employed by the Russians, becomes a crucible of patience and attrition. Kutuzov, now in command of the Russian forces, understands the power of time as a strategic weapon. The chessboard transforms into a vast battleground, stretching from the borders of Western Europe to the heart of Russia. As Napoleon advances, expecting a decisive engagement, Kutuzov, drawing on his extensive knowledge of Russian terrain and weather, employs a counter-strategy. He refuses to give Napoleon the decisive battle he seeks, choosing instead to retreat and lure the French forces deeper into Russian territory. The Russian winter, an unexpected ally, becomes a formidable obstacle for the invading Grande Army. Harsh weather conditions and stretched supply lines sap the strength of Napoleon's forces. Kutuzov's patience and understanding of the Russian landscape prove pivotal in the unfolding drama, as he orchestrates a calculated retreat, forcing Napoleon to confront the brutal realities of an inhospitable winter. The Russian campaign of 1812 epitomizes the power of patience in the game of war. Kutuzov, recognizing that time is a formidable adversary, allows the harsh Russian winter to become an ally. The once invincible Napoleon finds himself entangled in a web of strategic miscalculations, setting the stage for a dramatic shift in the balance of power on our historical chessboard. The turning point has arrived, and the dynamics of our strategic game are about to be irrevocably altered. Borodino, the pinnacle of the chess game. Our historical chess game reached its zenith on the blood-soaked fields of Borodino in 1812. This battlefield, where the fate of empires hung in the balance, stands as the pinnacle of strategic maneuvering between Napoleon and Kutuzov. Borodino unfolds as a symphony of strategy and sacrifice, each move echoing through the annals of military history. Napoleon, determined to crush the Russian forces in a decisive battle, deploys his meticulously planned attacks. The French and Russian chess pieces clash in a brutal dance of artillery and infantry. Kutuzov, with a keen understanding of his opponent's tactics, positions his forces deftly. The Russian redoubts become formidable obstacles, absorbing the relentless assaults of the French forces. The chessboard of Borodino sees every square contested with fierce determination, each side vying for control. The battle is characterized by a succession of calculated moves and countermoves. Napoleon's brilliance in orchestrating attacks is met with Kutuzov's patient and resolute defense. The chess pieces, represented by soldiers on the battlefield, become instruments in a larger narrative of power, strategy, and sacrifice. As the day wears on, the casualties mount and the landscape is transformed into a tableau of carnage. The chessboard becomes a battleground where the fate of nations hangs in the balance. Both commanders display tactical acumen, but neither can claim a definitive victory. The result? A brutal stalemate, with both sides nursing the wounds of battle. Borodino, while inconclusive in the traditional sense, becomes a symbol of strategic prowess. Kutuzov, understanding the value of preserving his forces for the long game, refuses to be drawn into a suicidal engagement. Napoleon, though technically victorious, is denied the decisive triumph he sought. Borodino marks the pinnacle of our historical chess game, a chapter where strategy, sacrifice, and the inexorable march of destiny converge. As we move forward in this enthralling narrative, the echoes of Borodino linger, shaping the subsequent moves on our grand chessboard of war. The retreat and pursuit. As our historical chess game unfolds, we find ourselves at a critical juncture, the retreat and pursuit phase following the brutal clash at Borodino. The chessboard, once drenched in the blood of thousands, now transforms into a vast landscape of strategic maneuvering, desperation, and survival. Napoleon, having claimed a Pyrrhic victory at Borodino, faces the harsh reality of the Russian winter and the relentless pursuit of Kutuzov's forces. The once mighty Grande Army, now depleted and battered, embarks on a perilous retreat, retracing its steps through the unforgiving Russian terrain. The chessboard becomes a tableau of desperation as Napoleon's forces navigate the bitter cold, dwindling supplies, and the constant harassment of Kutuzov's pursuing troops. Kutuzov, employing the tactics of patience and attrition once again, chooses not to engage in reckless pursuit but to let the harsh Russian winter become the arbiter of fate. The Russian pursuit, measured and relentless, mirrors the strategic wisdom of Kutuzov. Rather than risking confrontation, he allows the elements in guerrilla warfare to chip away at the already weakened French forces. The chess game evolves into a test of endurance, where survival becomes the primary objective for Napoleon's retreating army. The pursuit, however, is not just physical. It's a psychological and logistical battle as well. The once indomitable spirit of the Grande Army wanes with each step, and the harsh reality of the Russian winter exacts a toll that no military strategy can fully mitigate. As we witness this phase of retreat and pursuit, we see the chessboard transforming once again. The strategic brilliance of Kutuzov lies not just in confrontation, but in allowing the inexorable forces of nature and time to play their role. Napoleon, the master tactician, finds himself ensnared in a web of circumstances beyond his control. The retreat and pursuit phase becomes a poignant chapter in our historical chess game, where the dynamics of power, strategy, and the unpredictable elements of war converge. The game is far from over, and as the chess pieces traverse the frozen expanse, the outcome of this grand narrative hangs in the balance. The endgame, Leipzig and beyond. As our historical chess game hurtles toward its climax, we arrive at the epicenter of strategic upheaval, the Battle of Leipzig in 1813. This grand confrontation, often dubbed the Battle of Nations, became the decisive turning point in the Napoleonic Wars, unraveling the intricately woven chessboard of nations. Leipzig witnessed a coalition of European forces, inspired and led by the strategic legacy of Kutuzov. The once invincible Napoleon faces adversaries who have learned from the patient tactics of the Russian general. The chessboard, once dominated by the sweeping moves of the French emperor, now becomes a vast arena where the ebb and flow of power takes center stage. The Battle of Leipzig unfolds with a symphony of clashes, a cacophony of musket fire, and cannon roars echoing across the landscape. The strategies employed by both sides reflect the culmination of years of military evolution. Kutuzov's patient teachings echo in the coalition's movements as they coordinate a relentless assault against Napoleon's forces. The dynamics of the chess game shift decisively. Napoleon, now on the defensive, faces opponents who have learned from the mistakes of the past. The endgame, long anticipated, sees the French Empire's dominance wane as the coalition forces close in. Leipzig becomes a battleground where the consequences of earlier moves reverberate. Beyond Leipzig, the endgame unfolds in diplomatic chambers and negotiations. The Treaty of Fontainebleau in 1814 marked the surrender of Napoleon and his abdication as emperor. The grand chessboard of nations is reshaped once again as the Bourbon monarchy is restored in France, and the Congress of Vienna attempts to redraw the geopolitical map of Europe. The endgame of our historical chess narrative is both a culmination and a new beginning. The strategic brilliance of Kutuzov, though absent from the final moves, echoes in the legacy of those who studied his methods. The once mighty Napoleon, defeated but not broken, is exiled to Elba. The chessboard of nations is reset, and the repercussions of this grand game of war will resonate through the corridors of history for generations to come. In the aftermath of the Napoleonic Wars, as we conclude our exploration of Kutuzov versus Napoleon, the chess game of war, the echoes of history resound on the grand chessboard of nations. As we reflect on this historical chess game, we recognize that war is not merely a clash of arms but a complex interplay of strategy, diplomacy, and the unpredictable forces of time and terrain. This strategic narrative, spanning battlefields and diplomatic chambers, leaves an indelible mark on the pages of military history. Thank you for watching the entire video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support us. See you in the next video.